besides the fact that I'm looking a lot tired. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I have a small review on these new Almay products I saw at my local CVS store. Now the first thing that caught my attention was Skin Perfecting Comfort Matte Foundation. So y'all know I am a matte foundation addict. Now I find that I've had more of hits with matte foundations in the drugstore versus the high-end. So that's why anytime that I see a matte foundation, a new matte foundation at the drugstore, I have to have it. So I did also pick up the concealer. It's a stick concealer, which I don't tend to like these just because they do tend to crease on me quite fast. And I didn't see a new powder. I did see like their typical powder that they've had there for a while, but I just didn't pick it up because I kind of forgot, and as well, and I didn't pick it up because I kind of forgot about it. But I figured I'll just give these a try, seeing how they work out and if they can withstand this oily face. Now for my typical base, I did go in with my Smashbox primer water, and then as well went in with my Wet n Wild matte primer. Now I wanted to use these two just because, for one, I haven't found a good drugstore dupe for the Smashbox primer water, and I really just wanted to use a drugstore face primer with the drugstore foundation. Alright, so going into the foundation, it states that it's all day wear, it's oil free, it's for all skin types, and it's a comfort matte foundation. I got the shade 220 Warm Cashew. It's fragrance free and hyperallergenic, and as well it does not have a pump, and it just has that typical foundation smell. So I kind of don't like when foundations don't have a pump, just because sometimes I just feel like my hands can be a little bit dirty, a little bit sketchy, but I mean, gotta make it work. Now at my local CVS, this foundation does retail for $13.99, which is a little bit on the higher priced end, but I did have some coupons and some CVS coupons, so I did get this foundation for, I believe, $6 and some change. Alright, so on one side of my face I am going to use a sponge, and on the other side I am going to use a flat top kabuki brush to blend it out. I'm also not going to use any color corrector concealer just because I want to see what the full intensity is of the foundation and the concealer together. And this foundation isn't as runny as I thought it would be, but of course it says a comfort matte. Ooh. And this is one of the main reasons why I don't like it when a foundation has a pump, because it can get messy. Alright, so there goes with one, I guess, pump you can say. It did even out my skin tone, but you can see my skin through it. Like, you can actually still see some of my acne scars that I have, some of the discoloration that I have right here around my mouth area, and as well this pimple that is barely going away. The foundation does seem like it might oxidize just the tiniest bit, a little bit orange, but that's because I think I got the foundation in a darker shade than usual. But it's not bad. I am going to put some extra foundation on the areas where I just want that just a little bit extra coverage, seeing how it applies over it. Alright, so this foundation, it is buildable. I would say the max of coverage you're going to get is a medium coverage, because I was able to just a little bit more hide those little imperfections that I have going on. The foundation does set pretty quick, but given the fact that I was able to still apply that second layer of foundation, it doesn't look splotchy like how some of those really mattifying foundations can tend to go. So that's really a good thing, because I know there's sometimes people that kind of get distracted when doing their foundation. They're like, oh, look this way, look that way, and next thing you know, the foundation's set. Well, at least you know that with this foundation you can still apply more products to your skin and it's not gonna look blotchy. When it comes to the brush, I like to stipple on the product first and then swipe through, because I find that with that technique it tends to provide more coverage. So given with that, this foundation actually applied better with a brush than with a sponge, in my opinion. It just looks much more smoother, and it also looks like you did get more coverage with the brush versus with the sponge. Also, I did want to point out that even though this foundation states it's a mattifying foundation, it did not cling on to some dry areas that I have going on my skin. Like for some reason, I'm breaking out right here in the middle of between my hairline and actual my forehead, and you can't see any of those dry patches. So I'm pretty happy about that. I am going to also just apply just the tiniest bit in just some random spots just to see what it does whenever I try to apply a second layer with a brush. Alright, so if you kind of know how much foundation it takes to cover your whole face, then I would suggest going in with a brush. But if you're the type of person that likes doing one layer and then seeing how that looks, and then if you feel like you need more coverage, then you need a second layer, then definitely go in with a sponge. Because I noticed that with the brush side, when I was trying to do a second layer, it did try to cake up right here in this area. But using the sponge to just blend it out, it did like eliminate that issue. So I did wanted to point that out. But other than that, this foundation dries really quick, which I'm really happy about that, because the only thing that I don't like about foundation sometimes is since I'm very oily, if it does take a while for the foundation to set, it can already start creasing on me. So that's the only thing that I dislike about some matte foundations that don't dry really quick. Alright, so now going in with the concealer. This is the Skin Perfected Comfort Concealer Anti-Creaseness and Corrector. So I got the shade 180 in medium tan. Oh, it looks like it's gonna fit me. It is pretty creamy, so we'll see about that anti-creaseness going on. Now when it comes to concealer, I do like applying it in a triangle type of shape on my face, just because my face is a little bit more on the oval round side. And then as well, I do apply it in my smile lines because I do have some discoloration going on there, and as well around my mouth. Now I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to first try to blend it out with a sponge, seeing what kind of coverage that gives me and how it looks, and then on the other side I am going to blend it out with a brush. As I kind of expected, when it comes to cream products, it is better if you blend it out with a brush, so I'm going to do that with this side. I feel like with the sponge, you can't get that full blended look to it, and as well it does look like the concealer wants to cake up in certain areas. So I really don't like the concealer. So it is really creamy. You don't have a lot of coverage to it, and it's just making my skin look really weird. So I'm gonna try to blend it out with my finger now. Maybe the warmth of my finger can get it to blend out even more. Alright, so automatically I don't like this concealer. You can't really move the concealer that much because then it leaves certain patches that you can tell. It is too creamy for me. I have too many wrinkles going on, and I also have texture under my eye that this concealer is really enhancing. Normally it doesn't look this bad, but let me try setting it, because with this product I feel like you have to set it real fast and real quick. Alright, and I did forget to mention, but I am using my Maybelline setting powder, because that's just like my ride or die at the drugstore right now. Alright, so I'm actually this time going to let the under eye setting powder bake, just because of the creaminess of the concealer. I am going to set the rest of my face with my Wet n Wild pressed powder, just because I already know how this product works with all my other foundations. So I'm going to finish off the rest of my makeup, and then I'll be back to see how everything looks. Alright guys, so this is what the finished full face looks like with blush, highlighter, and bronzer. So far the foundation is doing a real good job. One thing though is that I am going to have to put my mattifying powder around my nose. I actually didn't do that, and it is slightly breaking apart, which I'm not alarmed by it, because every single foundation that I use tends to do that. So once I use the powder, which is the Milani mattifying powder, I do put that around my nose, let it bake for a little bit, and then it should be good to go. Other than that, the concealer, The concealer does look a little bit too cakey for my liking, but I think I am going to have to use a different setting powder because I did kind of bake under there since it was already creasing on me. What I am going to do is actually use my Too Faced Hangover Spray just to bring some more moisture back into my skin. That's why I really do enjoy using this spray, because anytime I use something that it's over mattifying or I'm having one of those rare occasions where my skin is actually really dry, using this spray tends to bring the life back to my skin. Alright, so as far as everything goes, everything still is looking good. I would say that maybe in the next 2 hours I am going to get the crease on my smile lines just because of that concealer. It is really creamy. I do want to point out that that foundation does remind me of the CoverGirl True Blend Matte Made, but this one does tend to be just a little bit more on the dewy side, and as well it does remind me of the L'Oreal Infallible 24 Hour Wear. Now I am going to have to wear this foundation all day to see if it is actually comparable to this, because this foundation is a really good foundation. It lasts literally all day. I don't have to worry so much about powdering my face with this foundation, so that's why this is like my holy grail right now. Alright, so it is 12:57, so I am going to check back either at the end of the night or if I see anything else changing with the foundation itself, so that way I can let you guys know. Alright guys, so this is my last check-in. It's 11:18 at night, so I have been having this foundation on for almost 12 hours or short of 12 hours, so we're gonna do a close-up. So this is how it looks. So granted, yes, you can see my pores, but I don't use a pore minimizer or anything like that. I am very oily in my T-zone, but the reason why I haven't powdered was because I wanted to try out to see how it's gonna look like if I powder over my face when it's this oily. I wanna see if it gets gross or anything like that. Alright, so I'm gonna go back in with my Maybelline powder just to powder over it, just seeing how it does. But even then, given how I've tested this foundation today, it's a pretty good foundation. Now, is it better than the L'Oreal Infallible 24 Hour Wear one? No. Just because I wasn't even running that many heavy errands for me to already be this oily. Usually with the L'Oreal one, I barely even get oily. Alright, so with that repowder, it does look a little bit cakey. So hypothetically, if I still needed to wear this foundation, what I would have done next is use my Too Faced Hangover Spray, just because of how kind of cakey it looks. But the most important part is how my eyebrows, well, it's semi from this side, it did kind of like fade away, but for the most part, it does actually look really good. I mean, but given the fact that I've been having this foundation on for almost about 12 hours and how it's withholded, I mean, my natural oil seeping through, this foundation did a really good job. So I can definitely give this 2 thumbs up on the mattifying part. I can also as well give it 2 thumbs up on the comfort part. So if you are debating on picking up one or the other, just speaking on the oily combo skin, I definitely suggest the L'Oreal Infallible one, because this one I feel like it's more durable, it is more mattifying, and it does also look really good on the skin. I have tested this out quite a few times on a couple nights of going out, and I've woken up with my foundation still on my face. I know, not proud of that, and it still has looked good on my skin. So that is why this has been one of my top foundations so far, especially because of how long lasting it is. So personally, I can't speak on if you have dry skin, if this is gonna work for you. I can only speak on if you have dry patches. But I did want to point out that this foundation is $13.99 and the L'Oreal is $14.99, but you can always use a coupon at Ulta to get $3.50 off, or if you go to your local drugstore, it tends to be a little bit cheaper. But going back to this foundation, I would say yes, I do recommend it. It is a really good, comfortable foundation to wear. But is this something that you need to be running out the door and getting? No, it's completely not. Like I said, if you have the L'Oreal Infallible one, you'll be perfectly fine with skipping out on this. Now going to the concealer, yeah, the concealer looks pretty cakey. It looks pretty gross. I do have, my under eyes are dry, and as well, they do get oily at the same time. I know it's weird. And as well, I have texture. So this was a no-go for me. To be honest, I just don't recommend it at all. If you have, for example, the Tarte concealer, if you have the e.l.f. concealer, if you have the Maybelline concealer, basically any other drugstore is going to be way better than a cream concealer in general. So this was definitely a flop for me. Alright guys, so hopefully you did enjoy this small review with the Almay products. Let me know down below if you're going to be picking any of these up, and if so, which one. Now don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and as well click the notification button so that way you don't miss next upload. We'll see you in the next one.